Welcome. John gets so excited with that music. Welcome aboard, everyone. I'm Don from Eat Sleep Cruise, and we're talking about Alaska cruises. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend John from Cruise Addicts. What's going on, John?
Hey, everybody. Good to see you, Don. And so excited to be here talking about Alaska cruising. We've been so excited to potentially go on Alaska cruises, and hopefully our enthusiasm has come through to everybody. And now me and Don actually have cruises on Alaska booked, which is just so exciting. And we hope that you have one too. If you do, please leave a comment below wherever you are. And of course, give us a thumbs up, give us a like wherever you are and watching. And we really appreciate you all being here. Wow, so many people are here already watching. Thank you so much.
Great. Yeah. So let us know if you're, as John mentioned, if you're going to Alaska either this season, which the season just basically started, a few weeks ago. It's early May. Some start sailing late April, and then or if you're planning one or just interested in it, we're here to help you. As John said, he's going to be going to Alaska. You leave what, next week?
Yeah, I leave Tuesday.
And then Heidi and I at Eat Sleep Cruise, we're going to head out to Alaska later this month. We fly out, I think, like the 18th, so a couple weeks after you. So let us know, as he said in the comment section below, where you're at, when your next cruise is. Is it Alaska cruise? And then, of course, you can ask us some questions. So tell folks a little bit more about the trip, and I'll tell them a little bit more about our trip. So ship, where you're going, all that good stuff.
Yeah, so we're actually sailing on the Norwegian Spirit. The Norwegian Spirit was refurbished in 2022. It's a 1998 ship, and it was given a $100 million upgrade. It's a nice size ship. It's 75,000 tons, and it only holds 2,018 passengers. And what they say is it actually doesn't really have any children's facilities on board, so it has more of an adult focus. But I was watching the videos and everything, and it looks really, really nice. It's got a couple specialty restaurants on board. It's got favorites like Cagney's, La Bistro, and Onda by Scarpetti. And really, really nice. So we're looking forward to that. They even have a local, which I know everybody's a fan of, the new local restaurants, 24 hours, a lot of beer, food, and different things.
Deadly. It's deadly open 24 hours. Deadly.
Yeah, but they have great breakfast too.
Yeah.
We enjoyed on the Norwegian Prima. So really, really excited. The places it's going, we're starting in Vancouver. Let me see here. We go back here. It starts in Vancouver.
So you're going northbound one way, right?
Yeah. So we're flying from Georgia here. We're going to go to Seattle, and then we're going to land in Vancouver, spend a night in Vancouver. And then on May 10th, we're going to be boarding and cruising from Vancouver all the way up to Seward, Alaska. And along the way, we're going to stop at, let's see here. We're going to go stop at Icy Strait Point, and they're going to do we're having whale watching and zip rider. I guess it's the longest zip ride in the world. I guess you've done that, right, Don?
We've done it. Yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome. I feel like the problem with those, though, is that every time one of them is built and has some accolade, like a year later, another one takes its place. But I'm pretty sure when we did it was the longest, if that's what they're still saying. It's awesome. You'll love it.
What blew me away is they had a really good video I saw, because I was like, zip rider, what's that? I mean, I'm kind of a chicken sometimes with some of these things. I ain't lying. It's like the older they get, the more I'm like, okay, no, and then, but they had a thing. It's like taller than the Empire State Building, because you're literally coming down off a mountain, and then you're going down, but it looks really nice. You're not like hanging like Superman. We think we talked about that. You're kind of like in a chair position, and it looks like it's a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that. And rather than being the longest or the tallest or like that, it's just really, really big.
Right. It's awesome.
It's awesome. And then the next excursion we have is that we stop in Keystone Canyon, which I've never been there, or even the Icy Strait Point. But we've got a Columbia Glacier cruise, which it sounds like we have a small boat that goes right up to the glacier, like a quarter mile away, and you can see the calving and stuff like that. It's 6-hour long tour, so I'm not sure all what's included, but I'm really looking forward to checking that out. And I mean, how exciting it is! I was in Glacier Bay watching calving from a big ship, and that was pretty cool. But I just can't imagine being closer and more up close. That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, we've done that to the Soy Glacier, where you take the explorers down and you just go down the fjords. First of all, just the trip there, right? We saw mountain goats. We saw little waterfalls, and those little boats can get so much closer.
Yeah,
that it makes for great photos, videos, whatever you want to do. And then they made glacier martinis on the way back. They take some of the glacial ice and they put it in. I mean, it's just an excuse to charge you more for a drink, but we had glacier martinis on the way back.
That is cool. You get cool points for that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a selfie somewhere of us drinking it. I'm sure Heidi has it. So,
and then I guess we're also going to go to stops in Juneau, Skagway, I don't really know what to do in Juneau and Skagway yet. If you had any recommendations, please leave things below. And also Hubbard Glacier. Listing kind of came up at the last minute for us, which we're really blessed to do. But I'm still I'm really not sure what to do in Juneau and Skagway. I know they're both really great walkable areas, I think,
Yeah.
to some degree. So we're not sure. But if you have a recommendation, I've been looking at we've been working lately with Get Your Guide and is it Viator? So I've been looking at those things too, just different options. But we'll see. Like I said, if you have any suggestions, please leave in the comments below. And yeah, trying to think what else. Like I said, we finish in Vancouver. We spend a night. We get off in Seaward. We take I think a 5-hour train ride up through the mountain back to Anchorage, and we spend a night there and we fly home.
That's a jam-packed 8-9 days with all the travel. I mean, that's a busy time. That sounds like a lot of fun. So Juneau, of course, there's great food there. Skagway, as you mentioned, is really walkable. Juneau's walkable too. I'm sure Mendenhall Glacier, you can get out there. But yeah, folks, let us know in the comments. We've already got a ton of comments and questions, John. Let's just who's checking in. We got Alexa over here. She's booked on NCL Sun out of Seattle. So
very nice.
Similar size ship. I think Spirit's obviously, as you mentioned, been updated, but those are 2,000 folks. Seems like just the right size.
That's
ship.
like October's like right at the end of the season, isn't it? But that's really great, Lex. I really appreciate you checking in from YouTube. Very cool.
My Alexa's trying to answer a question. I'm sorry. Alexa, answer. Is it not enough? My wife thinks she knows everything now.
So Lexa, we have to ask you, can you actually own an Alexa?
Don't have her going. Stop it. All right. So awesome that she's who else is cruising? Barb is going on her first cruise ever on YouTube, going to Alaska, June 11th on Hal. Let us know, Barb, what Holland America ship we've done. We went to Holland America 2021 on New Amsterdam and had a great time. So we got a couple other folks. Carnival Spirit. We got Ricky checking in from Texas. That's gonna be a change of pace going from Texas up to Alaska, but it's, believe me, well worth it. Carnival Spirit in August. The weather should be great. Late July, August is kind of peak when it comes to weather.
Yeah, like Spirit class ships by Carnival are perfect for this. And some of my favorite classes of ship. They're pretty much the same size as a little bit bigger than the Norwegian Spirit, but really perfect size for cruising Alaska. Enjoy it.
Well, Norwegian has several ships because we're going on Encore later this year, which is one of their largest ships, and obviously Spirit's not. But Carnival only has the one ship this season, right? It's just that's the only Carnival option.
Okay.
I think for Alaska this year. Maybe they'll have more. Rachel's doing she's in Montreal. She's doing Bolden Dom. That's a Holland America Line ship. Another August one too. So, and other folks checking in Jenny is doing RC. I'm thinking Royal Caribbean is a few ships. Jenny, let us know what ship. There's a couple Royal Caribbean ships there. So a lot of folks going to Alaska. Glad you're joining us. Let us know what you want to know about Alaska. I alluded to we're going on a trip. We're so spoiled, John. We're actually going to go to Alaska twice this season. Wow. So we're very lucky. But our first trip, I'm trying to find, we've got so many comments, which is awesome. Keep them coming, folks. We are doing We're doing Majestic Princess later this month. We're doing the reverse. We're doing southbound Whittier down to Vancouver. So doing a couple of similar stops. We're stopping Glacier Bay National Park, which you mentioned earlier. That's almost like a must for a first time in Alaska, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's amazing. It's a full day of scenic cruising. And the park, what I think really makes it unique is the park rangers come on the vessel. Yeah. And they do a narration, which is scripted. It's the same regardless of the ship you're on, while you bypass certain landmarks and they give you the history. But then later in the day, it's kind of a crapshoot who it is. Then they have a ranger do a presentation in the main theater. We had one ranger talk about his life and how he moved took his whole family up to Alaska. Then we had another ranger do more of, I would say, more like a lecture about the history, a little bit more in-depth history. So it's always a little bit different. So Glacier Bay is amazing. John, our Icy Strait Point, we're doing the Zip Rider too. When we go there, we've booked that. And I think we're just doing that because it's, for folks who've been to Icy Strait Point, it was created by the cruise line. So it is a stop in Alaska, but where you dock is actually got restaurants and shops and the attractions and the gondola. And it was kind of a port built for the cruise ship. So there's a lot of stuff there and there's not much to do out in town. So there's a lot of different tours you can do there, but it's also cool to walk around. So we'll probably just walk around there. And then Juneau, we are doing, fingers crossed, dog sledding on a glacier.
Ooh.
It's the bucket list thing we've been dying to do,
Yeah.
and it's been canceled on us on 2 other Alaska trips, so we have a book now, and then Ketchikan, we're doing the Totem Park. We're gonna check that out, which we've
Okay.
never been to before, but hear great things. So it's also gonna be pretty jam-packed too.
Well, I
But
hope you get to go to your dog sledding and helicopter.
it's just so weather dependent, right? And
Yeah.
if folks know, if you've been to Alaska, the weather can just change like in a second. Like it's sunny, and then before you know, you look around, it's raining again, or the wind can change. So safety first, of course, whenever you're doing those. And unfortunately, they've had to cancel for weather. So yeah, fingers crossed. Early in the season, it's supposed to be drier this time of year. We've never gone this early. When you've been to Alaska before, what time of year have you been?
I did it in late July.
Oh yeah, yeah. The weather must have been nice.
It was actually really nice.
Yeah,
But
we went July and August in 21, and it was warmer than any other time we've been. And then one week it was like sunny every day, and the next week it rained almost every day. So you never know what you're gonna get in
yeah,
South.
that's what they
Southeast
say. You
Alaska.
just never know.
Yeah. Let's see, folks. Some folks. So let's get. Want to get some questions? We have some tips too here, folks. So if you have some general tips, sure, happy to provide them. But we want to get to your questions. I think I saw a first question here from Frank over on YouTube. Frank wants to know what to do in Victoria, British Columbia. Actually, neither one of our cruises are stopping there this time, right? You're not going there.
No,
Have you been?
no, I've never been there.
Okay. So a lot of times, so if you're doing a round trip from Seattle, usually a closed loop cruise, usually it has to stop in a foreign port. So Victoria, British Columbia is kind of, I don't want to say it's an afterthought, but it's basically you've done all the great stuff in Alaska, and now you swing back, you stop there for 5-6 hours, and then you just slowly kind of drift down back to Seattle. And there's stops on other itineraries, but a lot of round trip Seattle go there. We've been there a couple of times. Butchart Gardens, awesome. We've been there. It's beautiful. Depending what time your ship docks and the time of year, keep in mind in Alaska, it stays sunny till 9-10 o'clock in the middle of the summer, right? So even if your ship gets there at 3 or 4, because they usually get there a little bit later in the day, the Victoria stop, you can still get to the Butchart within an hour, hour and a half. So you still would have 4-ish hours of sunlight. But we went at the end of the season where it wasn't, sun didn't stay out as long. So it was kind of like a race against the clock to see everything. The gardens are beautiful. They have naturalists there. And of course, all folks explain the different type of gardens, the history of it. And then it's also great just to walk around that city too. Last time we were there, we just got off, walked down to see Parliament, walked around the harbor there. There's a nice Chinatown. If you're into Chinese food or authentic dining there, there's high tea at the hotel there. So Victoria, British Columbia, there's several different options depending on what you like to do. It is walkable. Last time we went there, Heidi would know better. I think every ship docks in the same area. I don't think there's multiple docking spots, unlike say like Seattle has multiple piers, right? That folks. So Norwegian's kind of right downtown. You can walk up the pike. But if you dock further down where like Royal and Celebrity do, you kind of need to take an Uber to get there. Pretty sure all the ships dock in the same area. So check that out. Victoria, British Columbia. You can do an organized tour, or you can just walk it on your own and find some great stuff. So hopefully that helps.
It's a great tip there, Don. Thanks.
I'm trying.
You're doing a fine job.
I'm trying. Rachel did ask us what are some must-dos. What are a couple must-dos?
I think it's a very personal thing. The tours there are pretty unique. You've got to, I'm just reviewing them again myself. Some of them might be fishing, some of them might be dealing with the dogs, and the Iditarod dogs. Like I said, the helicopter trips, hiking. Sometimes they're just general tours. Then you've got these zip line types of things, and glacier, a lot of glacier focused things. So it would be hard for me to say a must do. I think it's what you want to do, and when you look at these tours, what jumps out at the page at you and says, oh, that's something I've always wanted to do. Me and Don were just talking about that. These are bucket list type of experiences. Some are very, very expensive. Just to warn you, these are not an island tour for $35 in some Caribbean country. Some of them can be $400 or more. Helicopter rides are not cheap. So these are bucket list things. But they're experiences where I think Don would agree that you're never going to forget this. So I think like I said, once again, look at what speaks to you and budget wisely. Pick and choose. You can't necessarily, depending on your budget, you might not be able to do everything that you want, but prioritize it and make it the best vacation of your life, hopefully, because there's things there you can do there that you'll never be able to do anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, just to iterate a couple of those points, totally agree. For must-dos, it really depends on Montreal. So you're from Canada, so maybe there's some other things that other folks who maybe live in Texas don't necessarily do all the time. So it might be different depending on things that you want to do. But when we've gone there, yeah, glacier viewings, whale watching. We went on a bear watching tour in Ketchikan where we walked through basically this private land where this gentleman built this wooden deck around there, and just bears coming out, running through the creek, grabbing. It was like National Geographic, grabbing salmon and eating it right there. And that's not something when we live in Massachusetts. Well, thankfully you don't see every day, but it was still a few $100s because you go on it. They bus you there. It's private property. They walk you around and they have folks there. So we easily can spend on a week long Alaska cruise $1,000 on excursions per person. But for us, it's worth it. That doesn't mean you have to, as Jonathan, you don't have to spend that everywhere. We were talking about Skagway is a great place to walk around. They do have the most famous or the most popular shore excursion, the rail there, the White Pass Rail. You can do it. It's only a few hours, but then you can walk around town. Same thing with Juneau or Ketchikan. You can get right off. Most cruise lines dock close enough, or it will bus you to the center of town, where Juneau you can walk around, or it's like 20 minutes to Mendenhall National Park. State park, I think it's a state park technically. Either way, it's not far. So, and you don't have to spend a ton of money, and you can see the glaciers. There's plenty of hiking trails and great programming there. We spent a day there, and some waterfalls and some bear. You can sometimes see some bears. They have some bear spotting areas there too. So, not every port you have to spend $5, but if there's that thing you want to do, say budget accordingly. So we like I said, easily spend close to $1,000 each just on shore excursions, not mentioning everything else.
Yeah, I can relate add up.
Yeah. So, but not to mention everything else, like flying there, like also flying to Anchorage and then taking the shuttle down to Whittier, or flying to Vancouver is not cheap either, right? So
yeah, oh yeah,
must do. I mean, like I said, must do's. You must eat some seafood though, right? We can all agree on that. Regardless, you got to try some salmon while you're there, crab while you're there.
Oh yeah, great food.
Yeah, whether on the ship or
and talk to people. I tell you what, the biggest thing I remember is like you said, the guides came on board from the national parks, and they started talking about their lives, and that's what I got out of it when my trip. It's been a while now, but just how people really tell you how they've left the lower 48 and moved there, and how it basically captivated them, and they've stayed there ever since. And they talk about their life. It's not easy to live there. So, I mean, Juneau is literally, the capital is completely enclosed, cut off by a glacier. So, that's the capital city. And then, of course, it gets more and more interesting. The winter is dark and cold, and it's very, very difficult and very expensive. And so you get to learn all these little things about their lives and why they chose to live there. And those stories, I think, live with you more than maybe just some kind of novel, zip line. But of course, like you're doing this incredible, trip to a glacier where you're landing on a helicopter. That's incredible. So those types of things, like I said, pick and choose, and hopefully you put together a nice package for yourself and create memories that you won't forget. Oh, we lost Don. I thought he switched the camera. There you are.
We've had so many people. I got kicked off. It's crashing my internet here. So
yeah,
awesome,
we really appreciate you all watching. This is great. We've got a lot of people watching right now, and so many comments. Want to go back to some of these comments?
Let's go to the questions. We're here for you folks. As I said, we've been in Alaska multiple times. We've been planning, as you mentioned, intently planning, and our cruises this month. So we're right in the thick of things with you. Happy to answer questions you have. So let's see. Folks asking about. Oh, that's it. Well, this is interesting. We're talking about this. So Rachel also asks if it's better to go north or southbound or a round trip. We've only done round trips prior to this year. So I think it really depends for us, for at least from folks from the US, I think round trip Seattle might be a little bit easier, and there's a few more options as far as diversity of ships and cruise lines. Most of them do offer at least one in one, but getting Seattle's a little bit easier. It's in the US. And I don't know, John, what do you think?
I think we looked at it last time when we talked about this. You know, a lot of times those round trip ones are shorter. So you might have to take a longer one to get farther, have the ship get
Sure.
farther north to like Hubbard Glacier. So you need to pick your maybe a round trip that's a little bit longer so it can actually traverse higher north and get a lot of those key areas. So you're not kind of shortchanging yourself. And of course, there's something to be said for doing a full inside passage where you get to cruise within the inside passage. That's pretty incredible. There's like literally a pass that the ship goes through. And at one point, and I think I'm going through it again, it was we were a celebrity ship and we were on a princess ship, and they literally passed right next to each other. And we were on the bow, and they were talking about they only had to do it certain times of the day. Really, really cool. So I'm looking forward
I mean,
to that.
that is fair. So the round trips aren't going to go as far north. Fair enough. And they do tend to stop. They'll still stop at a lot of Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, most cruise lines there. I would say for me, try to find something that has Glacier Bay National Park, especially if it's your first time. You said Hubbard's the largest glacier in the area, so that's cool that you guys are going to see that. But I would say round trip versus northbound, southbound to me wouldn't matter as much versus do I get to see Glacier Bay National Park or the Hubbard? I mean, those are kind of the Glacier Bay National Park. I think is cool because you see like 4 or 5 of them in that programming. So that's what I would say. Question on best time of year to go. So that really depends on, I think, a couple things. I would say the most economical time to go is like literally right now, like the very beginning of the season or the end of the season. That's where the fares are going to be the lowest. They call it the shoulder season. So late April, early May, or September into October. Weather's okay, right? But as John mentioned, when you go July, August, the weather's the best, right?
Okay, yeah. You know, I kept hearing, you know, that I thought the weather might be actually better in May because
It's
you hear
drier. So historically, it's drier this time. So it's drier in May, but warmest is July. And like I said, the sun's out to like 10, when we were in July, sun doesn't set till almost like 10 o'clock at night. So you have all that time as you're sailing from the ports just to stare out your balcony and see the fjords. You can just see the small town sail. The sail away from Ketchikan is amazing as you're going down. So it's part of the Misty Fjords. You see some of it there, but it's also the most expensive time, right? Because that's peak. That's when everyone wants to go, July, and everyone's on vacation. Right now in the U.S., people are still in school. Kids, most students are still in school, so you might have less families. Whereas in July, school's out for the summer.
And I was telling you when we were in July, people actually were in the pools.
Yeah. Well, you always should bring a bathing suit. So we can talk about packing. Always bring a bathing suit. Most ships have indoor pools, or the hot tubs are open. Even if it's 40 degrees on the pool deck, you can brave it. Get out there, and then a lot of ships have spas, thermal suite that might have hydro pools or indoor facilities. So you definitely should always bring a bathing suit. But yeah, we've been in July and it's hitting like 70 degrees, so it's perfectly fine to walk around on the pool deck.
Yeah. And almost every ship that goes active pretty much has a covered pool. So,
right.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So, yeah, definitely. So, bring that. But so, best time of year, Tom, really depends on. We've always gone shoulder season previously because that's when we go for like celebratory for our anniversary, September. And we've gotten some great deals. Like I said, we have had shore excursions canceled because the weather was not optimal that time of year. So, best weather tends to be middle summer. But we were checking out prices for a post we just wrote. And the price is almost double from the shoulder season to July. For literally go from like $1,000 a person to almost $2,000 a person in the span of 7 weeks.
And that's almost true. You know, that's true for so many different cruises like that. Caribbean cruises, where same ship, same voyage, 2 to 3 times once the kids get out of school.
Right. So Rachel's asking about history. I think we mentioned before some of the places you can go. The Ketchikan, they have the totem parks. There's actually a totem museum that is walkable. It's a little bit of a trek from the ships where you can see some 150-year-old authentic totem poles. A lot of the ones in town or some of the totem parks have been reconstructed. These are original totem poles from some of the Klingit families that are 150, 200 years old. Unfortunately, a lot of them were lost when the settlers came in. And the white people came in and burned them and took them down. So there's a really cool totem pole museum that you can get there too. The Mendenhall Park, they have a lot of great history about that park and the glacier, and you can see the evolution of the glacier over the last almost 100 years with dioramas and some park rangers there. I'm trying to think of some, and then Skagway is just it's like going back in time, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's essentially it's the town is what it looks like during the gold rush, like the 1890s, and then the White Rice Pile was built in the 1890s. You can go on that.
What I was thinking is to tell Rachel, I was looking through a lot of the tours, and I can't remember the exact city, but I know there's a lot of these places actually had part of a tour you would stop at a museum. So there are these places where there's museums in these cities where you can visit and get a city tour and kind of get a generalized tour and some history as well in a lot of these places. So definitely look at those. You may have to, it might not necessarily be offered by the cruise line. So if you want to look at like getyourguide.com or Viator, if you're comfortable with that, of course. I don't know how comfortable I'd be with that but it's something you could look into.
Oh, we actually booked. We're going to be in Whittier. We booked a tour through Viator, and we've done Get Your Guide in other destinations. Read the reviews. And a lot of times you can find out what the tour company is. So that's another tip. Even if we recommend booking through those booking engines because they have a lot better refund policies, and it's just if something happens, you can go to them if you have issues. But a lot of times they'll tell you who the tour provider is, so then you can search on social. You can go to websites like cruiseaddicts.com, eatsleepcruise.com, see what we do reviews for all the tours we've been on. We talk about everything first person. So we don't review about that means we haven't done it yet. But when we do it, we love to put reviews out there. That way we can tell you our honest firsthand experience. But I trust both those platforms. Shore Excursions Group is another one that we've had luck with in the past.
Oh yeah, the platforms are perfect. I mean, I think I trust them as well. I think what I'm trying to say is, just make sure you allot enough time to get off and get back to the ship on time. That your time is synced up, your ship time and the local time and everything like that. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, that's what you mean. All right. Well, I know Shore Excursions Group guarantee you'll get back to the ship, or they'll pay to get you back.
Oh,
I don't know about get your guy in Viator. I don't think they might have. I don't know the policy. So that's to John's point. All right, I misunderstood. I thought you were worried about the quality of the tours. I've always said the tours have been good, but you're right. You want to make sure you don't cut it close. Don't have a tour that's going to get you back 15 minutes before the ship's supposed to leave. In case you.
There's nothing wrong to doing a morning tour, and you're there for an extended period of time. And just give yourself extra time to get back in case something happens.
Right. So yeah, we just talked about these. We can put them in the chat if we want to. So Shore Excursion Group, I think it's short. You can go shoreexcursiongroup.com, Viator, and then Get Your Guide. Those are all very reputable companies. But you can also go to like the tours, like Cruise Alaska or Travel Alaska tourism boards. They're phenomenal. A lot of tour providers that might do more niche tours or smaller, more local tours usually register with them. So you might be able to find something unique, like a food tour or something that's cultural that might be smaller and more boutique through there. Whereas these other platforms do usually have, I don't want to say big tours because they usually say it's a small group or whatever. So those are all there. We can put those up. We got a producer, or we got John. Someone's.
I guess I think I'm doing it, but let's see here.
So that's where is our producer? So these are some of the great places that you can. I've used all of these, so we recommend them. Again, I never recommend anything we haven't used before. I don't know if there are any. Can you think of any others? And then the cruise lines, of course, you can always do it through. But any other like engines like that might be.
I think these are the top ones right now that I feel comfortable, suggesting. I'll do Shore Excursion Groups here because you just want to be safe.
Yep, and that's to John's point. You don't have to book them through the cruise line. The cruise lines, of course, might have some of their own special tours. Depending on the cruise line, they might have partnerships that are unique with the Travel Channel or Discovery Channel or other things that you might not be able to find elsewhere. But a lot of the tours through the cruise line you can probably book independently, and usually you save money. But you have to book it, and you have to find the providers yourself. You have to book them on your own. With the cruise line, everything's through the cruise line, so it's one individual you're dealing with. You can usually cancel them 48 hours, and it's easy, just cancel it. If you're before the cruise, cancel it on your cruise planner. If you're on the ship and something changes a couple days before, you can just cancel it there as opposed to trying to call the tour provider and stuff. So there are some benefits. We do both, right?
And
We've
of course,
definitely booked some private tours, and we book with the cruise line.
and the big one is, everybody talks about this. Why do you book through the cruise line? It's because they won't leave without you. So
No
if
matter what Heidi tries to tell them to do, just leave. They don't leave without us.
that's the big thing. That's pretty much why a lot of people do it. And then a lot of cruise lines will say, they've got great rates and everything like that. So I mean, what's nice is there are other options out there. You just make sure you don't risk getting left behind, missing the ship.
Right. You don't want to be a pier runner.
No.
And if you are, please be on my ship so I can film you, and then it will go viral on social media. I'm just kidding. Tip here from Holly about Sitka being very walkable. That is true. Sitka has some really cool downtown area. There's a famous church there, and there's a nice harbor. But you can walk around that area and get a good feel for Sitka as well. That's one place we've only been to, I think, on one last cruise, so we need to get back there. But it's it's tough. People ask what's the best port. There isn't really one best port, right?
Yeah, I think there's different flavors. I mean, if Sitka, I haven't been there myself, but I know it's got a strong Russian background with the Russian Orthodox Church there. So you get to see a real Russian Orthodox church. We were actually potentially going to be there this year, but it didn't work out. So I was looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, really, really cool. There's just so much character to each of these places, and that's what's nice about it, is they are very, very unique.
Yeah, it's tough because people ask, "Oh, what's the best one to do whale watching? Or what's the best one to do bear watching?" We've done different tours, different places, and they are very close to each other, and it's just sometimes the luck of the draw. We've done whale watching there where we didn't really saw like a tail away in the distance, and then we've done others where it's just whales everywhere. And I don't think it's the port necessarily; it's just timing, time of year, or just sometimes luck. So
yeah, Mother Nature.
Yeah, it's just Mother Nature, but from bald eagles or any wildlife there is just so abundant that you'll see it basically anywhere you go. We did an eagle watching tour at the sanctuary, and we took a boat out there. It's out in Haines. We saw like 3 eagles, and it's supposed to be like the highest dense population of eagles and like bald eagles anywhere. We saw 3, and then we went to Juneau, and there's like you just walk off the ship and they're just in the town, just hanging on telephone poles and electric wires. I saw more in the city than we did at the sanctuary. So it's just kind of the luck of the draw. We have a question here about keep them coming, Michelle, on Facebook. Let us know about the seas. We've always had pretty decent weather and calm seas when we've gone. How about you, John?
Yeah, I've only been one time, but there was no rough seas during our cruise. But I heard that depending on if they go outside of the passage, sometimes depending on just like anything, when you're in the open sea, it could always be a little rougher. But it all just depends what the weather is.
Yeah, we've been lucky. We've been 4 times, 5 times, and we haven't, and we've even gone out to the Pacific a little bit. If you're doing a one-way, we might find out. If you're doing one-way, maybe because you do have to go out further before you come in, it might be a little bit rougher. But we recommend ginger candies you can take, or the sea bands for your wrists if you are prone. They're inexpensive. You can have them, and just in case, we never feel any of it. We're really into roller coasters, and we never even when people on the ship like, "Whoa, I feel the ship's really moving." I'm like, we don't really feel it. It doesn't phase us.
Yeah, just try to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, just enjoy the ride, and believe me, that if you go on a newer ships, they have stabilizers too.
The new ships, you don't even know they're moving.
Right.
It's true.
So it's definitely different than like Drake's Passage or like South America or some of those other itineraries where the water is rough regardless. But I would say Alaska is pretty comparable if you've been on a cruise, Michelle, in the Caribbean and Bahamas. I wouldn't say it's much different. We did do a Trans-Pacific. We did a cruise from Hawaii up to Vancouver in a repositioning, and in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, it's pretty rough. It's gray and rocky for like 2.5, 3 days.
I still can't get over the whole Drake Passage thing. When I heard that they actually you have to strap yourself to the bed because apparently it can get that rough.
That's why it's just another reason why getting to Antarctica is like so bucket list, right? It's
That's pretty cool.
The water there is crazy. So nothing like that. You don't have to strap yourself to the bed in Alaska.
And
Uh,
Sandy McKenna is actually saying, hi, Sandy, by the way. She says, my last cruise in Alaska, we did hit a couple of days of rough seas.
oh, that's
Okay.
good to know. So again, pack the sea bands. It might help just
Yeah,
in
there's
case.
always green apples. I know we were on one ship and they put green apples out. And of course, usually some ginger snap cookies and stuff like that.
Um, let's see what other question. So speaking of, we talked a little bit about packing. Well, I know we get a lot of questions about what to pack. Number one thing we would say like is to pack some layers because of those weather changes. I mentioned earlier, definitely still bring your bathing suit. And I would say, what are some other so we definitely layers, right? Because you want to be able to take things on and off. It could be 30 degrees in the morning, 60 degrees in the afternoon, right? So it's going to be drastic changes.
I think, one thing we've been focusing on is like a light rain jacket with a
Mm,
hood, because like we're noticing even right now, like when we fly in, it's got like misty rain. So I know that that's part of the world is very, it can be misty kind of rain where
mhm.
it's not a heavy downpour, but it just might be kind of annoying. So you'd want something on your head. You're going to be outside potentially more than you would otherwise. You want to be able to enjoy it because it's beautiful. And so if it's fogged in or it's a little misty, you want to be able to have some head coverage. And so maybe just something with a jacket with a hood.
Right.
Rain
And
that
definitely bring like a waterproof day bag. So
yeah.
you should definitely bring it with you because as John said, the weather's going to change so quickly that if it's rainy and misty in the morning, still head out because that could change in a matter of a few minutes. But that's what it's going to be like. Ketchikan's like one of the rainiest cities in the U.S. They have great the rain gauge right when you get off the ship. You can see it there how much rain they get. But that's all part of the experience, right?
Yeah. And my wife just bought a little pack type of thing,
Are those
and
back? Are the fanny packs are back?
apparently they are because she bought it was a Lululemon. Is that how
Oh,
it
that's
is?
fancy.
That's fancy stuff. So I was like, okay, look at that. Because she doesn't want to have to carry a bunch of stuff,
Mm.
and when you're on like a zip line or different things, you can kind of have everything on you. And of course, like the zip line, I guess she's like, you can't have open toe shoes,
Mm.
or you have to have shoes with uh, like straps, like tennis shoes, because you can't just like have slide on shoes because they might slide off.
Mm.
So make sure you have, good shoes on, good walking shoes. We talked about this last time, walking shoes. If you're going to do some hiking, maybe some light hiking shoes, because like I said, this kind of gets to what unique things you're going to do.
Right.
If you're going to go on a river ride or if you're going to go on a glacier helicopter ride, they give you special gear for those places. So you don't have to worry about packing those things. And what do you think about suntan lotion? You think you need some up there?
We bring it. We always have suntan lotion. You could get some sunny days, or even if it's not like tanning weather, if you're out in the sun all day,
Yeah,
especially in the summer, like and the
yeah.
sun's you could get burnt. We've definitely had a couple days where like a little redness in the cheeks because we
Yeah, so
didn't
maybe
apply it.
so a
So
little bit of suntan lotion, SPF 50, just rub it on,
yeah.
protect yourself, especially if you're fair skinned, because you are on the ocean and you're out there. You're going to be spending more time outside, uh, wherever you are.
And like I said, the sun's out. The sun's out to like 9, 10 o'clock. Especially if you're going in the summer, it's going to be warmer, and you could be out all day. And inevitably, you might get, like I said, a little pink in the cheeks. But bug. The other thing I would say is try to find eco-friendly bug spray too, because if you're doing, a lot of times they have it. If you're doing a hike, like we did a Mendenhall Glacier viewing and hiked one of the trails, they had some. But you can buy little small packets and put in your day bag just in case they don't have that there. If you're going to go hiking, if you don't plan to go hiking, then you probably don't need that. Right? It really depends, as John said, what you plan on doing.
because the national bird in Alaska is the mosquito. That's what
How
they say.
you've been waiting to probably say that for 40 minutes.
Yes, I
So
have. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Sandy McKenna actually said the ideal thing to do in Alaska is a polar plunge. I don't know. Where do you do a polar plunge though there?
off it's a small enough ship if you so some expedition ships offer that like Uncruise
Yeah.
Adventures and
Yeah.
others they do a day where or like part of a day they'll just dock in some
Yeah. I know the smaller
area
ones
and they'll
do.
let you jump off the ship. But no, of course, don't do it in Heidi would just push me off, but don't think you can do the pole punch unless it's advertised, right? Just don't say
Would
what the
you do a
beach gonna
polar
jump
plunge?
off.
Would you do it?
Would I do it? Sure, hell yeah.
Sandy, we want to know if you did it or not. We want to see some photos here. Polar plunge photos, please.
Well, I know we mentioned this. The internet's kicking me off, but we do have a friend of ours who's actually physically in Alaska right now. She looks so happy. He looks so happy to be joining us. Let's add our friend Teresa. Can you hear us, Teresa?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
We can. Yes.
Hi. How are you? And
Good,
know
good to
what?
see you.
I have to say I'm not quite into Alaska yet, so I'm
Where
still
are
in
you?
British Columbia, making my way to Alaska.
Well, that's pretty close.
Yeah, we'll give it to. So let folks
It's
know what
very
ship you're on,
close.
and yeah, pretty close. Let folks know where you're cruising, what ship you're on, and a little bit about the itinerary.
Okay, I am doing a 14-day expedition cruise on the National Geographic Venture, and it is celebrating the 40th anniversary of Lindblad in Alaska. So it's pretty exciting. So we started in Seattle on Sunday. We cruised to the San Juan Islands Monday. Yesterday we were in Victoria, British Columbia. And today we went to Princess Louisa Inlet. So we don't have many ports. This is all about nature, activities, and not much shopping.
Well, it sounds amazing. We were just talking about. Do they have the polar? Are you doing the polar plunge?
No. I'm not a fan of polar plunges. I leave that to other braver people. I don't like cold water. I'll do a hot tub plunge.
That's cool.
And I know you said you do a polar plunge.
How's the food
I certainly would not. Foods have been great. This is a very small ship. The max capacity is 100 passengers. We have 62 people on board. So we're not at full capacity at all.
Wow. So there, I know that I remember reading up on this type of voyage. This is really unique where you really get up close and a lot of Zodiac rides and hiking and whatnot. Have you enjoyed that?
Of course, or I wouldn't be here. Actually, I just returned from a Zodiac tour into the inlet. So we saw harbor seals, mostly a lot of birds. And I heard you mentioning sunscreen. That should be a part of everyone's daily beauty routine. 70 degrees here and sunny. It's a beautiful day. And we're also in the rainforest, the Great Bear Rainforest, which is south of Tongass in Alaska, where we're heading.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then we went our first.
No, I was just going to ask.
Sorry,
quickly,
our first.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Our first day here, we did a Zodiac tour and a hike. So that was nice. And they have varying levels of difficulty. If you wanted to do a 5-mile hike at an aerobic pace, there was that option. There was a guided 5-mile hike. There was a 3-mile hike. There was a 1-mile casual hike. So there's something for everybody. You do not have to be a triathlete or anything like that.
Do you have to bring any special boots or anything? Because I know that I read up on that. Did you have to pack any special gear for that type of a cruise?
We did. And it was good that I decided to look at the packing list because we had to bring some like high muck boots because there are sometimes when you do wet landings from your Zodiac. So, and I also have waterproof boots for hiking. Waterproof jacket, like wool tights. You have to be prepared and pack in layers.
Wow, that's cool. Well, that sounds like an incredible trip.
Yeah, we got Sandy.
So far, it's been wonderful. Amazing. It is amazing, and there are a lot of naturalists on board. So we've had a couple lectures. We had a woman, woman who specializes in whales. Somebody gave a talk on Sasquatch last night and sightings. Today we had a lecture on the nature of British Columbia. And then there's also shore excursions. Yesterday was Victoria. I did a food tour, and there were garden tours, museum, Bouchard Gardens, history, a wide variety.
We actually just talked
So-
about. So someone's asked Teresa, what's the temperature? What's the temperature again? What you said it's been nice. What's the temperature been like there?
Today was 70. Yesterday was in the 60s. We've had no rain,
You just
Oh, wow.
jinxed it.
which is amazing.
That is amazing. And then you said you've been on the ship since Sunday, so it ends sometime next week.
No, it's 14 days, so it will end the 19th.
14 days.
Wow.
That's
No, I'm sorry. I'm confusing that with another cruise that ended the 19th. It ends the 13th,
okay.
but it is
All right.
2 full weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So today's the 3rd. So sometime next week they're gonna finally kick you off the ship.
Yes, in Sitka. They'll kick us off.
Nice.
But this is slow and leisurely. We do not cover the distance a larger cruise ship would do. You know, we take our time, enjoy nature. One thing they do have is a happy hour every evening that gets people to come and hear about what we're doing next day. And so we don't get a big schedule. So it is a little, it's important to go to these sessions so you know what you're doing tomorrow. We actually have an announcement every morning at 7 a.m. Good morning, it's time to wake up.
Like school over here.
And for somebody who's not a morning person, but it's only a one-way speaker, so I can't say anything to them.
Well, you can. They just can't hear you.
That might be a good thing.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know, right? With Teresa, that might
Could
be a
be.
good thing. So, but if you have questions for Teresa, let us know. We have, folks have been asking us questions all over the place, like what to do in different destinations, what to pack, about dining. So, what are some things you notice different from the expedition versus you've been on other obviously larger ships? What are some things that this experience that you like maybe a little bit more, or that's just different?
For one, you have to be very flexible. So if you're out in a Zodiac, say we see whales or other wildlife, you stop and the schedule changes. So even day by day, like for example, today when we're going in Zodiacs, we didn't really know what time we'd be going out, because if we had stopped to look at whales or birds or anything like that, we would have spent the time on nature. So we heard 15 minutes prior to our Zodiac excursion, we got an announcement. Okay, first group, go down and get ready for your Zodiac adventure. Hour and a half in that. It's a more food-wise, it's a more limited menu. There might be 5 choices. We order our mains the night before, so to prevent waste. There with a lot fewer people, you get to know people. Everybody seems pretty friendly, and just being on this type of cruise, you already have something in common. So that's really nice. And there are many people who've traveled with Lindblad. It's their favorite cruise. So they've been on a lot of their cruises. And what else? There are a lot of naturalists. The crew and the staff, they're very helpful. Everything's just been so far so good.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're glad the internet seems to be working. So you got that going for you.
It does lag a little bit, so we're lucky. Or on my end, you guys freeze, but that's okay.
We just looked this stunned.
We just what? It is. Well, I've checked it several times today, and there were times it was pretty flaky.
Well,
I
it's
think
still amazing that you're able to do, call it video on an expedition ship like that in almost Alaska. I mean, that's still pretty amazing that you
in
can do that.
almost Alaska.
Yeah, in almost Alaska. So, I know you're on social. Your handle's at Cruise Rider. Is that Twitter, Instagram? Where can people follow along? Obviously, she's posting on
That's
social media.
Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter, Instagram.
Is that
And then,
Cruise Rider?
all right. And you've been have you been when the internet's good? Have you been trying to post some stuff there? Share your travels with everybody.
I have to go look at Instagram. I've been, when I have internet, posting some photos and not too snarky comments.
Not too snarky. So for you, that's like the right level.
Not
of
too
snarky.
snarky. No.
Not too snarky. So
No, one thing I think I mentioned earlier, don't think you have to be, an athlete or extra fit to be on expedition. Because if you don't want it, there are some people, they haven't been out on the Zodiac, but they just like getting into remote places where a larger cruise ship could never go.
right.
cool.
So I highly recommend it.
Cool. So I keep reading are you trying to say that we're not fitting? I mean, I think I could do a hike. John, we could hike a few miles.
Of course.
Yeah.
We all did on
I'm
the
not
Viking.
saying anything. Don't judge.
I went on that one tour in a Viking Actanis. It was supposed to be like a city tour. It turned out to be a 5-mile hike.
We'll have to do a separate. I love that story. Let's tell people that story before. The tour guide took them on the wrong tour, but
I lost 10 pounds. I still kept it off. How do I look?
Hopefully, it doesn't happen to you, Teresa. They don't take you on the wrong tour, so you might not make it back to the ship.
We're like, where's Teresa?
Where did she go? So, well, you mentioned the happy hour. We don't want to keep you. We don't want to keep you too long. We just thought it'd be cool that you could call in, let people know, because you're great friend and great writer. Well, I think you'll be writing maybe something up for this. Let us know what outlets it goes on. I think there might be a website posting a review of your story coming up somewhere. I might know. But you can follow on social, post some stuff so people can check it out if Lindblad or Expedition Cruising is right for them.
Exactly. And anybody ask me questions about it. And I'm sure it will be great, even after the 14 days. It's only getting better every single day.
Oh, it's like my marriage.
Yeah.
I'm losing my internet again.
All right. Well, yeah, I thought it was my internet, but all right, Teresa, thanks for joining us, everyone at Cruise Rider. Enjoy the rest of your voyage, and we'll see you later. Thanks for jumping in.
Thanks, Teresa. Good
Right, I gotta get to happy hour. Good seeing you. Thanks for having me.
Happy hour.
Bye-bye.
One for us.
Hey, everybody, Cruise Rider. We love Teresa's great. She writes for a bunch of outlets. She's written for Cruise Radio. She's written some articles for us. She does freelancing work all around. So we'll make sure when her article goes out, we can share it with you if you want to learn more. And like I said, at Cruise Rider, Instagram and Twitter. Her internet was almost as good as mine.
Yeah, no, that was great. No, it's awesome. That's our first guest we've had like that. It's really, really exciting to have someone join us from an actual cruise and the connection work, because a lot of times we've talked about this, that they don't let you stream. The connection just won't let you stream.
Yeah. So the fact that she was able to do that on that vessel, that's amazing. So the internet keeps getting better and better. And hopefully, folks, we said we wanted to have someone who is in Alaska, give a different perspective. I've never done a cruise like that before. And I thought it'd be, we want to cover all our bases here because there are some options like that. And as she said, goes day by day. That's an adventure, right?
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. And that's what's cool about Alaska and cruising, and some people ask me, and I'm sure they ask you too, you see some people get so aligned to one brand, and they don't really look at the whole options of what's available out there for cruising. And in this case, expedition cruising. Expedition cruising is coming a long way. There's so many options there. We're on this earth for so long. Why don't you have a bucket list experience and maybe go on an expedition vessel? Look, at least consider that as an option, and consider other brands as options, because people go on these groups and they're complaining about maybe they're getting tired of a certain brand or they want a change. You can't have a change if you're using the same brand over and over again, right? So I think it's time to, sometimes that's why there's other brands. You kind of get, okay, I'd like a little of this, I'd like a little of that. A lot of times those your tastes are being served in a different brand, maybe the next level even within the same company. You go from Carnival maybe to a Princess. You go from a Royal Caribbean to a Celebrity, so on and so forth. That's what my point of I'm trying to say. So
Or
look at those options.
even within brand, right? So
Yeah,
a lot of those cruise lines have 2 or 3 different ships. So the ship you're going, Norwegian Spirit, 2,000 individuals, $100 million renovation.
right.
Yeah, we'll have a different vibe than Norwegian Encore, closer to 4,000 guests. It's got a racetrack on it, completely, but they're still going to Alaska, and they have little bit different itineraries. So if you're still loyal to that brand, same with Royal, they have Ovation. I think Ovation of the Seas or Quantum class ships are there, but they also have Radiance of the Seas, a much different style of cruising, and also will attract different individuals. But the good thing is there's more and more cruise lines and options. So definitely, we've sailed with 4 different companies, and we've checked out some other ships for other smaller companies there too. So there's plenty of options.
Yeah, and just do your homework. That's what
Yeah.
we're here for, to help you. For example, you go on a Brilliance of the Seas in Alaska, or that type of ship, and it's going to be totally different than if you go on some different, bigger ship,
Right.
wherever. So you get a different vibe. Just like Norwegian Spirit is going to be totally different than an Encore.
Exactly.
Totally different. No kids.
Interesting to know that going ahead. Like she mentioned, when we've done like an expedition, like preview cruise and stuff. Teresa's right. You get to know everyone within like the first day. So if you
Yeah.
don't want to know everybody and you rather get into a little bit larger ship with a few thousand people, you still can have a great time. It's just that option's available to you. Where you take when she said Zodiac, like those ships, you just take the Zodiac right off the ship, right? Everyone's there.
Yeah.
You just go and do stuff. And she mentioned walking around Victoria. Someone asked about Victoria earlier. Like you kind of do everything together and you get to know individuals, and it does kind of go where it needs to go. So it's definitely just completely different.
Yeah, almost like a river cruise vibe. Doesn't it sound like that? Where you kind of do a little more communal things, which I didn't think I liked that at first. I was used to big ship cruising, but I love river cruising. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand. It's really enjoyable. And like you said, you get to make friends with people, which is fun.
We got to do more river cruising. Well, hopefully we were supposed to do one right back in 2020, but so we've only done a little bit. I kind of feel that it is. I like the word adventure, but I think it's definitely it doesn't feel like you're cruising. It's just the riverboat is the way to get to each destination.
Right.
You have some good food. You get a couple glasses of wine. You hear what the next day is. So yeah, very similar to what Teresa was talking about. It's just a totally different vibe, and you can get a little bit more immersed, even though you're going different places each day. They're only a few miles away or kilometers.
And sometimes you're really busy too.
Yeah.
I was joking. My phone was making noises I didn't know it could make, just going off with all these steps you're putting in. Really incredible. But it's great. And it really does feel like a true adventure.
Sure. I know Heidi's helping, the producer helping, asking me. Some folks asked about cell service, and what I can say from personal experience. I've been over 65 cruises, and we've been on cruise lines that have dial-up speeds, and then some that have the Starlink. Alaska, you saw Teresa's. It worked. If you're in the U.S., remember when you're docked in Juneau, most carriers, if you stay in the city, will give you service. But if you go 2 miles outside, probably not so much. So the internet signals, cell service, very variable based on carrier. But we get the internet and it works. I couldn't believe we could hear her and see her. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but I'm glad she was able to check in. But what's your experience? So I guess what I'm saying, internet, I don't want to tell you it's great and it not be great. And I don't want to tell you it stinks and it is great. It's just so variable. And I think it's still amazing that it does work to some level. But I don't think you're going to be downloading movies and streaming them, right?
Yeah, I think it's going to work, but not to a high degree. I think that part of the world is just so remote. If you need to do anything really intensive, you'll probably need to go switch to your phone, or maybe just the internet might be work better locally when you're in port stationary. And if you have to do like some remote work or something like that, that's probably when you want to do it, maybe on a port day.
Right. And the only good benefit is depending where you live in the US, if you're doing work, your hours that you have if you head up north, you're 4 hours ahead of the East Coast, at least. We're East Coast based. So I know not everyone lives in the East Coast, but you can get some work done, get it done early, schedule it to go out, and then go do your tour, and you still can come back, and you might be able to get things done at kind of off hours when other people aren't. So I've definitely checked email. We've done social on ships and in ports of call. I've never done like a Teams or a Zoom call in Alaska that I can think of. So, it just well, you can report back. Norwegian has Starlink,
Yeah.
right? So you can let us know in a couple of weeks when you get your travel report what the internet's like.
Yeah, like I said, it's been a long time since I've been on a cruise. It's 2003 last time I was there, so it'll be all new to me. But I just know it's really far out there as far as most of the satellites in the United States. Starlink is different, but most of them are powered to the center part of the country, and so we'll see. I mean, Starlink is a totally different breed of satellite, so we'll see what happens. But
I mean, we've used it in other areas, and it's been crazy good. Like I've been doing team calls and Zoom calls. We've done some streaming, but in other regions. So yeah, but we'll find out, and then we'll test. I don't think we're on Princess. It's on Majestic Princess. The 18th or 20th, I think, is when the cruise leaves. We leave around the 18th. I don't think they have Starlink, but we'll test it. We always test the internet and always report back. So stay tuned. We'll give you some updates on the internet. So let's see. We got some folks still checking in. I know we're at the hour peak, but we can go a few more minutes. Right, folks, get your questions in. Again, John's heading out to Alaska next week. We're heading out to Alaska in a little over 2 weeks, or about 2 weeks from now. And of course, we'll report back. But we've been planning. We've been packing. We've been talking about Alaska for an hour. Miss Teresa at Cruise Rider just called in from British Columbia, almost Alaska. So, oh, I love that. Oh, she can't even just say yes. That's just so her. She's like, oh, almost in Alaska. Derek on YouTube's going to Disney Wonder 2 weeks. Did our first Disney cruise ever this year on Disney Wish 3-dayer. Disney I'm sure they must go all out in Alaska. I can only imagine what that's like. That's the only ship they have there. I think one ship, Disney Wonder, but that must be a real unique experience.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Disney does not mess around.
Disney does not mess around. This is it's almost a segue for Kimberly on Facebook. Will this recording be available? Yes. We can leave this out on Facebook. We'll also have it on both our YouTubes at Cruise Addicts and at Eat Sleep Cruise on YouTube or on Facebook. We'll make sure this is available to everyone. You can go back. I'll put some chapters in tomorrow where we hit all the good points, and then we have our special guest call in. So you definitely be able to get all the questions answered if we didn't get to them tonight. What else, John? What else are we seeing here?
Yeah, we're also working on publishing. I've always had a podcast for the Cruise Addicts Talk Show. Right. So some of these things, the last one we did, I published that, and we're working on reconnecting everything. We had the podcast was kind of dormant for a while, pre-COVID or after COVID. So we're working to get that up. So a lot of times you can actually listen to this on a drive potentially. So check out the Cruise Addicts Talk Show, whoever you're using to listen to podcasts, and hopefully we'll be there.
Yep. And of course, give us a follow, give us a like on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube. And we always keep you updated on all those social media platforms when the content goes out. So when this recording goes out tomorrow, or that podcast maybe in a couple of days or whenever, John, in between getting ready for the trip, right, trying to get all this stuff out, we'll let you know. That way you can consume this however you want. You can also check out cruiseaddicts.com, Eat Sleep Cruise. We have tons of guides about Alaska, whether they're ports of call. We have something going out, the 10 things we wish we knew before our first Alaska cruise going out. I believe it's next week or the week after. We have some tips out there and other videos and things too. You can also ask us questions on social, right? Just they can reach out to us too.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. I think that might be a good way to end with that, letting folks know this will be available. We appreciate everyone joining us, asking a lot of great questions. Like I said, so many folks kicked me off my internet. That hasn't happened in a while. But John, where can folks find you?
You can find me on all the social media areas at Cruise Addicts. And you can, of course, visit our website at cruiseaddicts.com. And thank you all for watching. We really appreciate it. If you can, wherever you're watching, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. We really appreciate it. And, of course, do the same to eatsleepcruise.com. Don, where can they reach you at?
That's exactly where they can find us, at Eat Sleep Cruise. We're everywhere on YouTube at Eat Sleep Cruise 1. And then TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and eatsleepcruise.com. We appreciate it. And, of course, if we didn't get to your questions, reach out to us. Happy to help you plan an Alaska cruise. Like we said earlier, one of our favorite places to cruise.
Yeah, well, happy planning, everybody. And we hope that you're on an Alaska cruise real soon. And, of course, check our social media. In the meantime, we'll be doing live updates during both of our cruises.
Yeah, yours. Yeah, we'll definitely make sure. We already follow you, obviously. So
I'll try to go live. Hey.
Try, yeah. See if we can do a live from Alaska. We don't want to overpromise, but we'll see.
We can try, but I don't know. But we'll see.
We can see what happens. But anyway, thanks again, folks. Have a great night, and stay tuned for another live. We'll let you know when it's going to happen. Like I said, John's in Alaska next week. Not sure we're going to be able to do one. We're actually going to be on a different cruise too, so we'll figure it out. But we'll let you know when our next live is. And We didn't talk enough about food, so we'll have to talk about more food next time.
Yeah. So have a good night, everybody.
All right, take it easy. Thanks again for joining us.